stand. I'm going to call Mr. Evans up to just bring us up to date on why we're here. And then we're going to turn it over to each school board to make their presentations. Will there be no objections? Hearing none, I'd like to call the Edgecombe County Board of Commissioners to order.
Edgecombe County Board of Education, come to order.
Good evening. I'd like to call the Nash County Board of Education meeting to order.
Good evening, folks. I'd like to call the recess meeting of October 9th, 2023, Nash County Board of Commissioners back to order this time. Thank you.
At this time, Mr. Evans, would you please come forward just to bring the boards and the public up to date on why we're here.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Wiggins. Do I need to turn this on from here? Testing. Hold on one second, make sure everyone can hear me. Testing.
If not, Mr. Evans, step over here, or you need to know something. Can you do it? You all right?
I'll use one of these.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Rocky Mountain Event Center and Sports Facilities Company for allowing us to use this wonderful facility here for this very important meeting. Both for our board, but mostly for our citizens that are here tonight. Just to remind you that Session Law 2023-37, also known as Senate Bill 382, was passed on June 12, 2023. It includes a provision that says that the school districts between Nash and Edgecombe counties will change and move to the county lines, which is referred to as the county line merger. This is to take place July 2024. A transition plan must be submitted to the State Board of Education by November 15th of 2023. Tonight, both superintendents and their staffs will present their respective parts of this transition plan. To the board, for you board members, you will have the opportunity to ask questions and make comments. I recommend that the board members hold your questions until the end of the presentations, as some of your questions may be answered in the latter part of the presentation. Also, when you do, please make sure that you pass along the nearest microphone to you so that both those who are here in the audience as well as those who may be watching remotely will be able to hear you clearly. There will be no action taken on this tonight. Instead, each board is asked to consider approving the plan by the adoption of a resolution at their regular meetings in November. Though there is not a place on the agenda for public comments tonight, we do encourage citizens who have feedback to share that directly with the appropriate school or county official or to attend the appropriate governing body's upcoming meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe we have first up Edgecombe County Schools, Dr. Andrew Bryan.
Good evening. I want to thank everyone for being here and just welcome everyone. To begin tonight, I'd like to take a moment of privilege to ask for a moment of silence if we may. Yesterday, Edgecombe County Public Schools lost an employee, a teacher at Southwest Edgecombe High School, Amani Key. I'd just like for everyone to take a moment of silence to remember her and her family in this time of need. Thank you. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight, and just would like to share with you the amount of hard work that's gone in to putting our plan together, both for Edgecombe County Public Schools and Nash County Public Schools. It has been a tremendous honor to work with all of the administrators and educators within both our school districts, and board members and community members and attorneys who have worked and helped us put this plan together. At this time, I'd like to recognize anyone from Edgecombe County Public Schools or Nash County Public Schools who's worked on this plan to please stand and be recognized by the boards and the community. Please stand. Thank you for all your hard work on this plan. And all that hard work that I have seen, I know that's what excites me and assures me that we will be able to make all the necessary arrangements to make sure our merger plan is successful. And as we have spoken so many times before, Dr. Ellis and I have spoken about the teamwork that's been involved with this. And I think as board, you will all be very proud of how hard everybody's worked together to make sure it's a cooperative spirit, to make sure this plan is successful moving forward. In that note, I know that we have a lot of logistics to present to you tonight, a lot of different things that we want to make sure that we're successful with. We've also begun to shift the conversation to what we believe is one of the most important things that we're going to be talking about. Actually, the most important thing we're going to be talking about is the education of our students that will be involved in the merger. And it's absolutely imperative that we continue that conversation, involve our community, our parents and children in moving forward to make sure as that merger occurs, we provide the very best education possible for our students who are involved in that. On that note, again, thank you for being here tonight, and I will turn it over to Mr. Ronnie Sharp, who will provide you with the presentation and also cover the highlights that are at your seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brian. Let's see if this podium will move a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Let me slide this over a little bit. Thank you, sir.
That might work.
Testing. Perfect. I didn't have to slide at all. After all. Now, I'm going to point it in that direction so that I can see the presentation, if you don't mind. Just give me just a brief moment. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your presence here. Thank you for your support throughout this entire process. Thank you for your input and suggestions, your concerns, and just for supporting our youngsters in Nash and in Edgecombe County. So good evening to our county commissioners. Good evening to our county commissioner chair, Leonard Wiggins, Mr. Robbie Davis, Ms. LaShonda Washington, chair of Nash County Public Schools, Dr. Evelyn Wilson, our vice chairs for the Board of Education and the Board of County Commissioners, all of our board members for the County Commission, as well as for the Board of Education. Good evening to our attorneys who have come to support us tonight. Good evening to our superintendents, Dr. Stephen Ellis, Dr. Andy Bryan. Good evening to all of our transition participants and those supporters who have encouraged us and worked with us very closely, both from the Nash County side and from the Edgecombe County side during this entire endeavor. We welcome you. My name is Ronnie Sharp. I serve as the District Transition Director for redesign for this process and transition. And we want to present you with our abbreviated response to Senate Bill 248 as it relates to the mandated components contained in our county line written plan of transfer. This overview will represent our goal of streamlining our efforts to highlight the main components in our transfer plan. You will note a couple of QR codes here, and those QR codes will take you to a more closer detailed examination of the written plan of transfer. The QR code on the left is the actual 248 written plan of transfer. The QR code on the right provides an overview of the presentation that is occurring tonight on this stage. So for those who wish to acquire additional detailed information regarding the plan itself and these processes, feel free to peruse those documents through that QR code scan. Staffing. Edgecombe County Public Schools invite staff to apply to continue to serve in our Edgecombe County community. An expedited application process and acceptance process will be utilized for staff members who are currently serving at Fairview, D.S. Johnson, Baskerville, and Parker Middle Schools, including a series of talent recruitment events which we started on the 27th of September at D.S. Johnson Elementary School. Our school structures consist of mainly regarding feedback from the community, from our community design team meetings, from our county line merger planning committee meetings, etc. And those recommendations were that we would maintain the current school configurations of the 4 newly acquired Rocky Mount schools for the 2024-25 school year, pending board approval. So pending that board approval, our students will be assigned to these schools using the 2023-24 Nash County Public School attendance boundaries. And let's briefly examine these elementary and middle school structures located in the upper left-hand corner and the bottom left-hand corner of that slide that designates school structures. Fairview will consist of pre-kindergarten through 2nd grade, D.S. Johnson 3rd through 5th grade, Baskerville. And you'll notice, if you see down there in parentheses, pre-K pending licensure. That means that there are no current pre-K classes at that site at this time, but we will be examining that. Parker Middle School will consist of 6th through 8th grade. Our 9th grade student center will be located either at the industrial incubator site in the northern part of Rocky Mount, which is about 5.3 miles from Edgecombe Community College, or North Edgecombe High School. Next slide. High school students. Our 9th grade high school students will have a unique educational experience at either the Edgecombe Industrial Incubator or North Edgecombe High School. Students can also apply at Edge Academy of Health Sciences or the Early College High School. Our 9th grade students participate in athletics at North Edgecombe High School, and students entering 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th grades will have the opportunity to continue as legacy students within the Nash County Public School System until they graduate. 10th through 12th grade students who elect to become Edgecombe County Public School System attendees will attend North Edgecombe High School or apply to attend Edge Academy as rising 10th graders. Transfer of assets. ECPS continues to work closely with the Nash County Public School System regarding the transfer of assets. Items purchased with state funds and ECPS and NCPS are working collaboratively to transfer these items to ECPS. Items purchased with federal funds, on the other hand, at ECPS and NCPS are working collaboratively with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and the U.S. Department of Public Education to determine the reasonable fair market value of these assets which depreciate. And how Edgecombe County will acquire these selected assets, they will work with us to determine those processes. Technology. Edgecombe County Public Schools is working with the Nash County Public School System to examine our internal budgets to ensure that our students have the technology that they will need in order to be successful. Transportation, very important piece. ECPS will receive buses from Nash County Public Schools according to the current legislation, and we operate approximately 65 passenger buses, which is the number of seats on those buses, and Nash County Public Schools currently operates a fleet of passenger buses that seat 72 students. And the ECPS maintenance facility can only service 65 passenger buses. Therefore, we are exploring an option of partnering with local LEAs with those fleet buses that are 65 passenger buses to receive the additional 72 buses from NCPS and provide us with the 65 passenger buses so that we will be able to transfer our students based on our needs and the accommodation maintenance pieces that we have in our unit. As for our academic programs, we're excited to share that ECPS, our focus on innovation and strategic design of our schools and our academic programs are done with our students and families. Therefore, if you desire to become a member of this effort, please scan to join the QR code that you see on that slide, and that will take you to an area where you can actually click on that piece to become a member of that program, and you can work with us to make sure our kids receive what they need in order to be successful. If you will note on that slide, you'll see that ECPS is in the process of creating these design teams through pre-K and 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9th grade and beyond as we acquire those students moving forward in the years following 2024-25. As for our community involvement piece, ECPS is committed to transparency and continuous communication with the community as we transition our families into our district. We just want to highlight a few of the things that we are participating in, and this is not an inclusive list, but it just highlights just several of our major components. We are currently and will continue to host monthly communication meetings through our community meetings, our superintendent advisory councils, which will begin on the 19th of this month, our signature learning experience design teams, and the parent-parental participation through those teams through access to those QR codes, the alignment of our school calendars with Nash County Public Schools and Edgecombe County Public Schools working closely together to make sure that our parents are able to, regardless of where their students attend, work through those calendar issues in aligning in a cohesive manner. We also are providing welcome packets to our families at just different events, and also at carpool and things of that nature to make sure that they feel welcome in our system. Our merger plan of transition timeline, the main one that we want to highlight is obviously November 15th. That is the date when the written plan of transfer is due to be submitted to the North Carolina Board of Education for approval by the four boards. We want to highlight just very quickly October 25th, and we would ask you all to please feel welcome and feel free to come and attend to support us as we meet at Baskerville Elementary School on the 25th, and again on the 29th of November, we will meet at Parker Middle School. Our last slide simply repeats that second slide, which provides an opportunity for and a closer examination of the written plan of transfer 248 on the left-hand side, and the presentation that we're conducting currently here. So I turn it over to my counterpart in Nash County, and I thank you for your attention and your support.
So good evening. I just want to first like to welcome both sets of boards and commissioners tonight. This has been a tough undertaking. As I told you in my last meeting last Monday, they did not write a book about a demerger. I think we are the first two systems that have attempted this. And I tell you what helps out is the collaboration and the work ethic in putting students first with Edgecombe and Nash County. So as Dr. Bryan applauded both school systems, I could not say anything better. It has just been a great working relationship because, like I said, we're putting students first. And we're just never going to forget that, and we're going to move forward, and we're going to make sure this gets done. And then me and Andy can retire someday and write a book about this. We'll see. So tonight what you're going to have in your packet is you're going to get our plan of transfer, but there's going to be an inventory list, which is what Mr. Sharp referenced about the items that are in the schools. So you'll see a plan of transfer, and then you'll see an inventory list. And then if there are any questions after this, I'm assuming all our cabinet members are up here and we can have the questions. So at this time, I'd like to have Victor Ward come up here, our transition coordinator, to discuss this plan of transfer. Mr. Ward.
Good evening. As Dr. Ellis said, I'm Victor Ward, Senior, Director for Transition and Safety for Nash County Public Schools. Protocol has already been established in the welcome, so I would just say good evening again. If you would turn your attention to our plan on the Nash County Plan of Transfer, I believe that's your second packet that you have in front of you. What we would do, we would go through our plans. Most of you have had the opportunity to review this. And so what we would do is just go through the plan as is by page number. I would dare not read it to you, but I would point out and highlight certain aspects of our plan. As we go through this plan, you will recognize that our plans mirror each other in structure and format, with the exception of our plan, of course, is primarily the relinquishment of course, property assets and, of course, students transferring. So that will be primarily the difference, as you will see, but you will notice that we mirror our plans in structure and format. We began our plan with, of course, a detailed table of contents for you, as you can see outlined on page 1 and 2. We provided you with an executive summary. This pretty much just put in context the historical context of both districts in terms of how we evolved and how we got to become Nash County Public Schools, Edgecombe County Public Schools, and also it just mentions this process as well. On page 4, we provided you with a forwarded statement regarding the agreement between all 4 boards. Page 5 and 6 provides you with our core responsibilities of our superintendent and also of each of our departments and our divisions. Page 7 and 8, of course, you see outlined, we have our transition planning teams listed by department and title. Page 9, which is titled Overall Impact of Our Data. As you can see, that currently, well, these are not current numbers. I will say that these numbers will change prior to us submitting our plan November the 15th. So this just provides you with a guesstimate of the current number of students that are enrolled in each one of those schools. Also, in the second column, which the number of students that are domiciled in Edgecombe County, which brings us to our post-demerger in the last column, providing you with a number of how many students that may remain, or an approximate number of students that may remain in Nash County Public Schools post-demerger. On page 10, we provided you with the number of staff that's housed in each facility, in addition to the Teacher Resource Center and also the School Nutrition Building, which you see a 0 in the column for School Nutrition Building because those staff members have already moved to another location within our district. On page 11, this is the fiscal impact for Nash County. As you can see, there is nothing for state funding. Local funding, of course, current budget for Nash County was the $25 million minus the $2 million for that would be reverted to Edgecombe County, leaving us with $22 million post-demerger. Federal funding, current none, and of course the $3 million that will revert to Edgecombe County. And here again, these are projected estimates. Page 12 provides you with a list, a breakdown of PRC codes, which are program report codes by our staff members. For example, 001, those are your classroom state positions. Currently in 2022-23 school year, we had 705 positions, less than 587 positions, which will have a reduction of 118 positions at the end of the year. And this breaks it down. This gives you by position and also dollar allotment for us. On page 13, you will see a more detailed breakdown of the certified and classified staff members by state and local funding. That would be for part-time and full-time. For instance, I'll just take one example, Baskerville Elementary School, currently 6.2 positions, and that includes arts, music, and PE. 1 EC position, 3.3 positions includes guidance, media, social workers, and 2 principals, or administrators, a principal and an assistant principal. And of course, NA, there are no certified full-time local, and they're certified, last column, full-time, part-time, those that are in federal positions. And that is by each school. On page 14, you will see a summary of federal assets. As Dr. Ellis alluded to earlier, you do have a packet with a detailed breakdown of all inventory assets by school. And this is just a brief summary or overview by school, by PRC code, again, program report code of all the federal programs. If you look down on the bottom left-hand side, the PR descriptions are provided there for you in regards to the federal funding or source of funding or funding stream. The 50, of course, is Title I, 105 is the CIS, so forth and so on. And back at the top again is broken down by each code or PRC code, and also it gives you the dollar amount. At the bottom, it gives you the expectancy, life expectancy, because that factors in terms of the dollar amount or the price of those federal assets in terms of their longevity, life expectancy or their longevity. Page 16. Communication and engagement. From the onset, as Mr. Sharp mentioned earlier, we have been very transparent in this process as much as we can with our internal and external stakeholders in having community forums, getting input from our stakeholders, and also meeting in the communities, hearing from board members and so forth. And so this has been a very open process from the beginning, where we have engaged not only Edgecombe County communities, but also Nash County community members as well in this process, because we want to make sure that we have input from all that will be involved in this process moving forward. So we've launched a couple of community meetings ourselves for our own students in terms of where about 400 students will go. We're going to have to place for the upcoming school year that live in the Nash County side. So I just want to again give a shout out to Edgecombe County for their community meetings, and partnering with them has been really great, as our superintendent said earlier. Page 17, student transition. This section pretty much outlines our student transition process, as Mr. Sharp alluded to earlier, in terms of our students in 10-12. In terms of those legacy students remaining in Nash, will have the option to remain in Nash County if they so choose. Our plan, as will follow, you will see on the next page, page 18, which we've outlined, starting with July, our student transfer timeline for this process. However, we have been really careful about what we've said in the community, because we really want to wait until the plan is approved before we give any detailed information about students being, in terms of the process and how it's going to work. However, we have provided and outlined it here in terms of how we think the process will be moving forward. But again, we just want to make sure that we had approval before giving any definitive answers to the public. As you can see, our timeline on page 19 will run through 2024. So once the process has started in terms of we don't want to use the word demerger, growing together, that's a part of our campaign as well, growing forward together, to be more specific. And in April, in March, we will have probably 100% of this process complete in terms of getting information from our parents that will remain in Nash County Public Schools, those 10-12 students that will remain. That process will hopefully be finalized by March of 2024. Also within the transition plan, it speaks to our student records, how records will be handled on both sides with Edgecombe and Nash County Public Schools, making sure that those records are secure and that they're transferred in a proper and orderly manner. On page 20, it speaks to the safety and security of our schools in terms of the safety equipment that will remain in those schools. The cameras and the electronic safety equipment, with the exception of one school that is a federal item that may have to be purchased. But other than that, the safety equipment, as it mentions in our plan, will remain in those schools. Transportation, and again, Mr. Sharp alluded to that in his PowerPoint earlier, in terms of our transportation directors working together to resolve the bus issue in terms of the 72 passenger buses and the 66 passenger buses, in terms of how those buses are working with other counties to get those 72 passenger buses transferred out in exchange for some 66 passenger buses, so that we can accommodate Edgecombe County Public Schools and their transportation needs. Technology will fall under the federal assets as well, in terms of the equipment and devices that will be in those buildings and the funding, the cost of those. And so that pretty much is in the spreadsheet. So that will fall up under the federal assets of this particular spreadsheet here as well. And again, our technology departments, they have been communicating with Edgecombe County as well to make sure that this is a very streamlined process as well. And page 24 just pretty much provides you with a dollar amount of breakdown by school in terms of those student devices, staff devices, the cameras, the scanners, the interactive boards and televisions and printers that are located in each one of those buildings. And again, it just provides a dollar amount for those particular schools. And page 25 brings us to the conclusion. And attached, you will have on page 26 an appendix, which gives descriptions of some of those assets as well. Also, in the electronic version, we will have a link to the spreadsheet with a detailed summary of all the federal assets that you have before you that will be included in this plan electronically as well. And the last page, of course, is the signature page. Once approved, all four boards will have the opportunity to sign at that time. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to thank all for this presentation, for excellent presentation. And at this time, we open discussion from any questions, any of the board members. And we got to go to staff and those responsible. Any questions from anybody?
Oh, yeah.
positions for our teachers on the Edgecombe side of the job.
Let me ask that question because the superintendents will determine which staff council.
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I believe we have an expedited process that we've already started to ensure that individuals in those 4 schools can apply for jobs. And we've reached out to them as well through communications to make sure they understand that process. And we've worked with Dr. Ellis to make sure that that process is outlined to them so we can get that done as quickly as possible. Because we understand that they need to have answers as well.
So you don't have a time frame when you expect to have these positions filled?
We've actually already started that process, and we have not set a complete timeline for that, but we're working on it right now so that hopefully we can give people an answer as quickly as possible, which is beyond what the normal process would be because we know this is such an unusual situation. As we hire people, as we interview people in this expedited process, we're going to hire them as quickly as possible, which would mean even this year if we can get that done, meaning the end of 2023.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes. How much time have been spent
All 4 together, at least the 2 boards, school boards, and each county spent together working on this plan. And it looks like to me we have Nash County experience, we can have. Would you care to respond to that?
And I'll ask Dr. Ellis to join me up here too, because since we're both going to be answering questions, I know that both boards, but particularly both administrations, have been working on this since even before, well, since legislation came out. And from what I can gather, this information has been discussed for a long time. But the time has been put in to make sure the plans are done correctly. And there's been a lot of work done by both sides. Would you like to care to,
Our
if I may
first
answer?
official meetings, I
do you
believe,
plan to come up with just one plan and put these
you're
together?
talking about putting them together for one plan.
It should be one plan. And I have
Another teacher assignment, teacher supplement, been working on that. There's several, I know in Wayne County, they have student assignment, even though they was in Wayne County. They had, parents rose up against what this school board were trying to do, even with their own student assignment. That's something that you need to pay close attention to and have parents involved so they won't come up and say, well, sometimes parents don't think about things until it's a decision that you make. I'm trying to minimize that. And teacher assignment, you know, those schools on the Edgecombe County side, which is now in Nash County School District, have anything, have you discussed anything with them, well, they remain with Nash, those that are working in schools in Edgecombe County, will they still be there?
Let me go back to the student assignment to begin with, and then I'll talk about the assignment of employees as well. To begin, we knew that with the merger, that it was important that we try to give stability to parents and students as much as possible. So in those schools, we're maintaining the same attendance zones that they're currently under right now as we start in July of 2024 when Edgecombe County Public Schools takes over for those schools. The process for employees, as I outlined a little bit previously, We have started an expedited process right now to hire those employees that are currently working in Nash County schools and those schools so that we can give them closure and we can move forward, because it's important for us to get great teachers, and many of which are already working there right now, and make sure that we support them in the transition in those schools. I think it would be great if those teachers can work in those same schools, and we've already told parents and students that they're going to be attending those same schools as well that they are right now, and the same feeder patterns, which should create some more stability for them.
Could you work on delineating the plan when you have your final plan? Because I suspect parents won't read a lot of detailed information, at least make it simple that at least they have some knowledge.
So the plan that we're submitting is going to go into the Department of Construction. And I believe our attorneys are going to be handling that piece. That's the plan you're seeing tonight, to skim this down a little bit. When we have some communications with the parents, we don't just show them this plan. We give them some timelines like we talked about tonight when our community's meeting. That's what most of the parents are getting, that information when we have these community meetings.
The overall process that the school boards will be dealing with, even after the submission of these plans, in terms of student assignments, that will be continuing. The plan doesn't necessarily settle that, because I think that most of this is going to be school board actions in terms of after we submit these plans. Would that be correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And may I also add that in reference to consulting and working with parents, we've had community meetings. We're going to continue to have more community meetings, and we put together a parent advisory group that I will be with, our team will be with, for the parents and students. We're going to be involved in the merger to make sure they're all aware of the information they're going to have and where they're going to be in the school.
Yeah, so, like I said earlier, most of the parents that sit down and that's what I talked about. Delineating the important things like transportation, students assignment, teachers assignment, maybe that would be as strong a mission as it would be presentation student assignment. My suggestion would be make sure that every parent has a belief about this merger, and at least if they don't like it, they can't come up with this flash to school board and superintendent and staff. I didn't know this. We should have known. But,
yes, sir.
We don't do a whole lot of reading TV and videos. It's just about blocking them out. They're used to that. But minimizing the issue is certainly.
Yes, sir. I think that's a great idea, what you said. And I think that we will make sure, you can never over-communicate. And I think we will do everything possible through various means and mediums to make sure that we get that message out there. And I think you're exactly right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I have been text and the parents and staff very appreciative of the plans and the details. However, they said if you're keeping the kids first, please consider athletics, because there's a great importance for the elementary school tournament, basketball tournament. What will happen with some sports activities for the kids in terms of morale? And alluding to B.S. Johnson, I believe. So I'm just relaying the question.
Thank you. And athletics is very important. And we want to make sure that students, regardless of what level they are, elementary, middle, or high school, that those opportunities are still available to them. And we're going to do everything possible to make sure that that happens because athletics is part of the educational experience.
Asset list. Now, is this the total purchase or just the total at the school?
Those items are all federally purchased items, no state in those bills.
And who will decide what is a fair price?
So, Ms. Wallace, I might bring you up here. We have a depreciation cost that the federal government gives us when we have those properties. We have a list that we go by, and if you read that sheet, it'll have like probably a purchased value, then it has a depreciation value of how old that item is. And it gives a breakdown of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, gives you a depreciated value list of that item. So if it's a TV, it'll say a purchase price. They don't have a depreciated price, which is the list we have given to Edgecombe. Now, leave anything off, Ms. Wallace? Is that correct? Because we inventoried all the federal, well, everything in those bills we inventoried and audited to make sure we had a clean list for each school.
I also want to ask, you talked about 72 passenger buses. Did you not have 72 passengers because that's what was needed at those schools? So how would you go to a 66 passenger if you actually needed a 72 passenger?
So Mr. Dr. Farrell, Nash County has 72 passenger buses. Edgecombe does not have those large buses because there's not a place to keep those buses that are that large. So that's why there has to be some sort of a agreement to get a 66 passenger bus instead of a 72 because they won't fit in the maintenance department. Is that correct?
I'm just saying, if 72 is what you were using at those schools, isn't that what you needed?
That's fine, but you won't have a place to house them is what the issue was. They won't fit in the maintenance. Excuse me? No, our buses are, the newest carries 72. We have a place to house those buses at. Edgecombe doesn't, so.
If those schools needed 72 passengers to transfer their students, would they still not need a 72 passenger bus, even though it becomes Edgecombe County Public Schools?
It probably would. Go ahead, Dr. Farrell.
It's not a case of need.
That's what
It's a situation where that is what we were able to hold in terms of our facility. So we were able to get from the state the largest bus available, which is a 72 passenger bus. The 66 passenger buses are some of the older bus models. And as Dr. Ellis stated, as has been stated before, we've been in conversation with Edgecombe County about their facilities, the buses that they're able to handle. And when it comes to looking at the number of students and the number of buses that are needed, we're looking from the very start of school to the very end of school to come up with an average number of the students who are riding the buses on the Edgecombe side of riding to determine the number of buses we need.
That's going to connect. Dr. Bryan, I was really surprised that we didn't get anything in the plan showing updated budget, how this change of these additional students would change the bottom line or the budget you already have in place. I didn't see anything showing me any expenditures or anything like that.
We're still working on that number with the transition, and also want to make sure that we have a complete budget that will take that into account. It's difficult to do that right now as we're working on numbers, and also we're trying to still figure out the federal funding question with the equipment, and we want to make sure we have a number on that as well as we move forward. This plan going forward, as someone said earlier, the plan is due on the 15th of November, but we know a lot of the work that will continue beyond that as we work through our process and even the budget process as we go into next year.
So by the 15th, you still won't need to include anything about your budget?
We will continue to work on the budget, but I think that budget question and process will continue as we go into our local budget process, as we go into the new year. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? I think we've had some conversation about, I did hear a presentation in terms of there were, maybe some students beyond the ninth grade, I hope we're talking about transfer, to 2 people in the household. And whether if the parents wanted those to attend the Nash County school system in terms of how we might handle that, do you have any responses to that? And let's say a child is attending maybe every junior high, whatever, below the grades that we're talking about. We talked about they might want to stay into the Nash County school system, and we talked about how we might handle it. Do you recall that conversation?
You speaking about ninth graders or the 10, 11, 12, 13?
We're talking about 8th grade. We might be talking about the 8th grade that won't stay in the school system. We've had some conversation on that, I believe, in some of our sessions.
Dr. Fred, you want to answer that one? You might want to get a microphone.
Yes, so we talked about the transfer process will reference children who are 10th through 13th grade. And then you have those who are in the 9th grade who will be remaining in Edgecombe. And so there's a likely situation that may occur where there's a family who has a child who's in the 10th or 11th grade and have another child who's a rising freshman. And so the conversation was around what will we do if a family member says, I do not want to be caught in a situation where I have one child in Nash, one child in Edgecombe, and trying to attend athletic events. And so this is a conversation that we have put on the table, but it's not a decision that we have made yet. It's still one of the nuances that we really need to talk through about the student transition part. But I believe, I can say this, Dr. Ellis, from your perspective, that we want to understand those special situations that exist like that for families and make sure that we're trying to work in the best interest of families. And everything that I've heard from Edgecombe, they want to do the same.
I just want to put it on the table because you might have a lot of parents that are in that position and they probably want some responses to it. Anybody else? Yes, we'll be right back.
Well, my question is actually based upon, you talked about the legacy students, I guess those who are 10th, 11th, 12th grade. There is a per pupil allocation difference between Edgecombe and Edge. And according to what I'm reading, is Edgecombe is only going to pay a certain amount of that per pupil allocation. The difference in that per amount, where is that coming from?
I think the court, I think the parents speak to the court. We said we're going to do it. But where it's coming from, I can't tell you.
So the conversation,
I think this is the agreement that we're working on. This is the agreement that we're working on.
because if I'm not mistaken, there is a variance between those pupil allocations, correct?
I think the reason that we're here because of that gap money that you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're not talking, Edgecombe is not talking about no gap money. Okay, I think the intent of this agreement is that these students will stay into the Nash County school system, okay, with the, whatever the parent speaks to that we're going to send. There'll be no gap. I'm not going to face
Just I'll say that's been the group that worked on through the process. Nash County understands that's where we are, and we willing to accept it based on everything else that we've been able to agree to, that the gap funding will not come from Edgecombe County. If you look at the 3-year process, it's a pretty small number, and we're prepared to entertain
taking care of it, no?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I think that is one of the things that we have agreed on, both from the county commission standpoint, okay, in terms of our conversation, okay.
Why did I take that one?
Is there any other conversation? I mean, you have a way. I just have one final comment that I'll be making, and that is, I hope all of us will put the students first and get our personal feelings whenever we have any kind of personal agenda aside, and let's educate the students in both counties that we'll be proud of. And when as we look at economic development, they look at these issues. What kind of young people do you have that's qualified to work in this particular industry that we are taking a look at your district? When I said district, I'm talking about Nash and Edgecombe. So let us all work to make sure that we put the children first. And when they come out of high school, they're eligible to do one or two things: go directly to a job, or go to a community college, or college. And that would make this area great. And I've seen 17 counties working together in Ohio, with Columbia being the capital, and also the head of that, those 17 counties. And they are doing wonderful in economic development and educating the children.
Mr. Wiggins, if I may, I'd like to address the board member there, but I'd like to address our whole board. And what I'd like to say is, to our board members, the most pride I have had in small groups, and we have met, I don't know how many times, about every 2 weeks for a number of months, is the way that this unique situation has been handled. I will assure you, as our board members, that it has always been very cordial. I haven't heard a cross word whatsoever. And each meeting I leave with a big smile on my face, quite frankly, because it has gone so smooth. It kind of amazed me. This has been a controversial subject for a very long time. But I'll tell you, when you got time to get it done, particularly the school side of this, the board commissioners didn't have that much involvement in the details, as we shouldn't have. We were responsible for the funding, as we all know. But they have all worked together extremely well. You couldn't have asked for it to go any smoother. And I just want to reiterate just how good it has gone and how proud I think every board member would be if they had sat in all of the meetings. Thank you.
I have a question concerning the possibility of the Edgecombe industrial incubator. That was one where I had a parent call who did not think it would be a good site for students. But the very next thing says that ninth grade will participate in athletics in North Edgecombe. Is that whether you utilize the industrial incubator as the school or North Edgecombe?
Yes, that's correct.
Either way.
Either way.
Anybody else? Well, I guess my comments are along the lines that Mr. Davis said. It's been a good working experience in terms of with all the board members and the committee's proposal of the commission's leadership, the commission's chairs, the commissioners, the managers of those, and the attorneys from those counties, the school board chairs and the superintendents, and their staffs, and their legal teams. And it has been, we have had some disagreements, we've got some unresolved questions, terms of the unresolved questions, they give us what they consider to be the guidelines. And now they and our staff are working through and the state a possible resolution of those issues. We don't know what those resolutions are right now, but they are, it's been an excellent relationship, so I just want to commend all of those teams and staffs, the leadership and the staff of that. Mr. Davis and I have been talking about this issue for 15 or 20 years, and we agree this is it. And oftentimes this is it, okay? But we do come back to the table, and I would say that in this, everybody's been very cooperative in terms of coming up with resolutions. And as we continue to work through those unresolved questions, they've been very cooperative. I just want to publicly thank all of them involved, and our superintendent, Brian, has hit the ground running with this issue. And of course, he had an excellent team of professors in the case, and I want to commend them also. I guess now we need to get are there any final questions? But hearing now, one of the things that I failed to do on the open meeting was what we normally do, is I'm going to let each one of us introduce ourselves. I'm going to come back to that. And that our board introduce themselves as we move around the table. Edgecombe. I'm the business chair of the Edgecombe Commission.
Vice Chair, representing District 5.
Paula Harris, representing District 2.
George Stone, District 3.
Evelyn Powell, District 1.
Wilson.
Edgecombe County Board of Education, representing District 1.
William Allen, Vice Chair, representing District 4.
Raymond Trickett, representing District 6.
Evelyn Johnson, representing District 3.
Nash County Board of Education, LaShonda Washington, Chair, representing District 9.
Mike Dutton, Vice Chair, representing District 6.
Evelyn Bullock, representing District 10.
Franklin Lamb, District 3.
Donovan Chavis, District 1.
Zach Gray, District 8.
Dean Edwards, District 2, the southern part of Nash County.
Bill Sharp, District 5.
I'm Robbie Davis, Nash County Commissioner for District 7.
Gwen Wilkins, Nash County Commissioner, District 6.
Wayne Outlaw, District 5, Nash County.
Sue Leggett, Nash County Commissioner, District 4.
Dan Collins, Nash County Commissioner, District 3.
Fred Belfield, Nash County Commissioner, District 2. Marvin Harrison, Nash County Commissioner, District 1.
And you see how good a clerk that we have on the Nash County side, she makes us sit in order.
Is there any other business to come before this joint session? Any other questions, any other business? Hearing none, is there a motion for the Edgecombe County Commission to adjourn? Questions? All in favor, let it know by voting sign aye. All opposed? Hearing none, the Edgecombe County Commission stand adjourned.
Edgecombe County, I need a motion for adjournment.
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn. I move that we adjourn the Edgecombe County Board of Education.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we adjourn this meeting. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye. Opposed, the same sign. Hearing none, the meeting
adjourn, the Nash County joint meeting of county commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. Any, opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries.
If y'all could bear with us just one moment, we had a situation to come up late, that we need to pass a quick resolution before we adjourn, something that affects us dollar-wise, and we need to have to the state by the 23rd, and rather call another special meeting. But it is concerning resolution of support request to North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality to finalize and implement the remedial action plan for the Nash County closed landfill at the Red Oak landfill site. Each commissioner has had that to do with who I'm talking to each one of them today. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. If not, I'll entertain this for approval of this resolution. Have a motion to approve, and a second. And a second, any questions on